What if the quietest moment of Ferrari's season was actually its most important? What if, far from the cameras and commentary, a single engineering tweak is about to reshape not just the SF25, but Lewis Hamilton's entire trajectory in 2025? At Mugello, under the veil of a promotional filming day, Ferrari launched an operation so calculated, so hidden, it could only be described as a turning point disguised as routine. Beneath the pretense of camera shots and sponsor-friendly laps, Ferrari was testing a radical reconfiguration of the SF25's rear suspension, one that may finally unlock the aerodynamic and mechanical harmony the car has sorely lacked since the first race in Bahrain. For weeks, both Hamilton and Leclerc had been driving a machine that felt split in personality, unstable in corner transitions, unpredictable in dirty air, inconsistent across temperature shifts, a car that demanded compromise on every lap. To protect the fragile underfloor from ground contact, Ferrari had been forced to artificially raise the ride height, sacrificing downforce and grip just to keep the floor intact. That compromise cost them tenths in every sector, robbed them of consistency, and left both drivers driving with hesitation instead of instinct. It was, in many ways, a beautiful machine wrapped in engineering anxiety. But Mugello changed everything. On that track, hidden from the paddock, Ferrari quietly executed one of the boldest moves of the season, a re-engineered rear suspension anchored by a subtle, almost invisible change, lowering the upper wishbone's rear mounting point by roughly 30 millimeters inside the gearbox housing. To the naked eye, it looked like nothing, but to those fluent in Formula One geometry, it was seismic. This single change redefined the behavior of the car under acceleration, braking, and mid-corner load, correcting the unpredictable rear behavior, stabilizing load transfers, and unlocking the ability to run the car lower without compromising the floor. This change directly addressed the anti-squat characteristics, those vital milliseconds where the car compresses under throttle, giving the SF25 newfound traction without risking the violent porpoising or bottoming out damage that had haunted early races. And for Hamilton, it was like flipping a switch. No longer did he have to balance on the knife edge of uncertainty, guessing how the rear would react under pressure. The new suspension gave him the one thing he'd been chasing since joining Ferrari: trust. Not in the team, not in the data, but in the car itself. That trust is the invisible currency of elite performance, and when a driver like Hamilton feels it, everything changes. In Mugello, he didn't just complete a testing program, he reconnected with the car on a level that had previously felt unreachable. Gone was the nervous twitch on corner exit, gone the mid-corner slide that required constant correction. Instead, the SF25 began responding like a precision tool, progressive, obedient, confident. It wasn't just faster, it was stable, predictable, sharpened. Engineers reported something rare over the radio. Hamilton smiled. And that smile might just be the most dangerous thing to happen in the 2025 season so far. Because when Hamilton is at ease, he doesn't just drive fast, he dismantles fields. But the Mugello test wasn't just about Hamilton's comfort, it was a systems-wide chain reaction. The reworked suspension geometry required recalibration of the gearbox packaging, diffuser behavior, and rear tire management. It forced adjustments across aero balance, weight transfer, and heat dissipation. But every adjustment, every iteration was a step toward a more refined, competitive machine. Ferrari wasn't just fixing a flaw, they were unlocking a version of the SF25 that might finally be able to fight on equal terms with McLaren and Red Bull on technical circuits. And that's what makes this change so profound. Because in a sport where change is usually incremental, where teams fear taking risks mid-season, Ferrari just flipped a structural component that could ripple across the final third of the championship. Belgium will be the first true test under race conditions. Spa, with its aggressive curbs, elevation shifts, and long straights, will expose every weakness, but it will also reveal the truth. If the new suspension holds up across high-speed compressions and temperature fluctuations, then Ferrari may finally have broken through the wall they've been banging their heads against since preseason testing. More importantly, they may have given Hamilton the exact machinery he needs not just to compete, but to control. Up to this point, Hamilton's 2025 campaign has been defined by adaptation, not domination. A driver of his caliber doesn't simply forget how to win. He had been driving around a problem, one that clashed with his aggressive style, punished his corner entries, and limited his ability to extract time through rhythm. Mugello didn't just fix a component, it restored his natural flow. It gave him the green light to attack again. And that changes everything. Because this story was never about whether Hamilton still had it, it was about whether the car would let him show it. Now, for the first time all season, the answer might be yes. Spa, a place where legends are either made or broken, and for Ferrari, it's where whispers from Mugello would finally meet the roar of reality. No more private laps, no more hidden data, just raw public truth against Red Bull, McLaren, and the stopwatch. Hamilton rolled out with a quiet intensity, the kind you only see when something has finally clicked. The SF25, now finely tuned with its re-engineered rear suspension, hugged the tarmac like it had been born for it. The rear no longer danced unpredictably through Eau Rouge, it gripped, held, trusted. In Sector 2, he gained 3/10. On the radio, silence. Not from problems, but from peace. The car was listening. But Spa was never just about speed. It was about survival. Could Ferrari's radical gamble hold through tire degradation, through temperature swings, through the storm? That weekend, Hamilton didn't just post competitive laps. He reminded the grid why he's a 7-time world champion. Ferraris had found more than pace. They had unearthed belief. And for the first time in 2025, the paddock looked at the red car not with pity, but with worry. The renaissance had begun. And this time, it had teeth.